Hi folks, how's it going? In 1969, then Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, yes, father of our most recent former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, went on a trip down to Washington, D.C. to visit with then President Richard Nixon. And he said, this is loosely quoted because I don't remember verbatim, but living next to the U.S. is like sleeping with an elephant. You feel every twitch and hear every groan. Well, lately, those twitches and groans have gotten more violent and louder. So it is getting more and more difficult to live next door or sleep with the elephant. Not that anybody, would want to sleep with the elephant. The elephant being Trump, of course. What has been going on in the United States is infuriating. It is frightening. It is aberrant. And it should not be happening. Trump should not have been elected to a second term. I have no idea how that happened. I'm sure there are millions upon millions of Americans still wondering how the hell that happened. Even MAGA is turning against him. Rand Paul, Republican Rand Paul, is now saying that what is happening is not right. And it unfortunately took the murder of 2 white American citizens for MAGA to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't right. Well, how about all of the even legal green card holders, legal student visa holders, legal visas of other things that people hold in the United States, and they have been detained by ICE and put in some detention center somewhere, and some of them are lost. Nobody knows where they are. How about the illegals who are being illegally detained from their homes with ICE just cracking down the door? And how about the 5-year-old Liam Ramos, who was taken with his father from their home, and he was used as bait, a little 5-year-old boy used as bait to get his father, who are now in detention in Texas. And now the news this morning saying that Liam is quite ill and has been vomiting and he is not receiving care. This detention center has, they show us, like they clean up one little area of it and say, look, the kids are being treated great. They have school and they have computers, they can watch television and blah, blah, blah. Well, they clean up that little area squeaky clean, but they have, no access to healthy food. Apparently the water is not clean, the food is rancid, like at every other detention center. Like, these people are not being treated as human, and the U.S. Constitution states that any person on U.S. soil, whether they're legally or as a citizen, every person in the country is eligible for due process, has the right to due process. They're not getting that. Did Alex Pretty have due process when he was shot 7 times in the street in Minneapolis? Did Renee Good get due process when she was shot 3 times in front of her partner, Rebecca? No. These people are murdered in the street. And then the young man, I'm sorry, I forget his name, in Los Angeles, who was shot on New Year's by an off-duty ICE officer. Let me see. Kevin being shot in LA by ICE. Keith Porter on New Year's, shot by an off-duty ICE officer because he was shooting his gun, firing his gun. Keith Porter was shooting his gun on New Year's, because that's what people in the United States do. I lived in the U.S. for 7 years. I was there for I don't know how many New Year's Eves, even before I moved there. People shoot off their guns. Here in Newfoundland, we have fireworks going off from 5:30 in the afternoon until well after midnight. freaks my dog right the fuck out. But fireworks are going off. There could be some gunfire going off in there too. I don't know, because we can only hear the fireworks. In the US, it's not uncommon for people to shoot off their guns up in the air. They're not shooting at people. They're shooting it up in the air at the strike of midnight, and that's it. Some ICE officer off duty got up and shot Keith Porter dead. And then there was another young man, I think it's in Arizona, Nevada, maybe, I'm sorry, I don't remember, shot point blank with a pepper ball in his eye. He is permanently blinded, a 21-year-old kid, point blank in the eye with a pepper ball. That should not be happening. This shit should not be happening. It is getting ridiculous. And people going across the border, just don't even go to the US. It's not safe. Every single country on the planet should have travel warnings to the United States. It's not safe to go there. FIFA is boycotting. Fans of FIFA are boycotting the games that are going to happen in the States, if they even do happen in the States. We still have a few months before that goes on. Hopefully the games still happen in Canada and Mexico that are scheduled, and maybe the rest of the ones that are being questioned in the United States, maybe they will get split up and come to Canada and Mexico. The logistics are probably going to be a nightmare, but Jesus fucking Christ, don't go to the United States. It's not safe for anyone. I understand the optics here, that I'm here now on my channel bitching just after 2 white people are killed and not before. But I do have some semblance of a life here, and it's been snowing like crazy, and I've been shoveling, and we have people off at work because of flu and whatever. So I've been working extra hours. I'm just exhausted. I have not had time. This is my first day off, and I don't know how long. So this is just when I'm getting to it. And I've been pissed off since day one. Trump is now again calling our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, calling him governor. Well, he's the Prime Minister of Canada. Grump. He is not the governor of the 51st state, and never will be. Never 51. It's not going to happen. Get over it. So Grump has now given up on Greenland because somehow Mark Rutte convinced him that whatever, I don't know. So now he's given up on Greenland, and he said, no, I'm not going to go into Greenland. I'm going to leave Greenland alone. And then the next thing we know, he's all pissed off at Mark Carney because Mark Carney used a couple of words in his speech at Davos that Trump had to look up in the dictionary, and he didn't like what that said about him. So now he's threatening Canada again, calling our Prime Minister governor, and saying, well, 100% tariffs if you go and have a trade agreement with China. Well, Carney went to China and just ironed out the disagreements we had on trade, and we don't have a free trade agreement with China. We just lowered the tariffs on a couple of items, like EV cars coming from China into Canada. The tariff was reduced from 100% to 6.1, which, okay, good. More people can buy an electric vehicle. And then the 100% tariff on canola oil from Canada to China was lifted, so that now farmers in Canada can actually sell their canola oil to China, because they were suffering. Canadian farmers were suffering because of that 100% tariff. The tariffs are not paid by the country being tariffed. They're paid by the country who is tariffing them. So the tariffs for the retaliatory tariffs that Canada put on the US by Justin Trudeau early last year were lifted by Mark Carney when he took office. So we do not have extra tariffs on US products here in Canada. We are sticking perfectly to the CUSMA agreement, Canada, US, Mexico free trade agreement. The only items that are being tariffed from those countries are the ones that are in that agreement that Trump negotiated himself in his first term. And he says now it's the worst deal ever. Well, he negotiated it, so he's the worst deal maker ever. The art of the deal, huh, Mr. Trump? Yeah, get over yourself. This is ridiculous. People are dying in the streets protesting fascism. This should not be happening. I've never been one to buy into the American dream propaganda. Not when I went to the US. The only reason I went to the US was because I married an American and he was deemed by Canadian immigration ineligible to immigrate to Canada for various reasons. So I went to the United States. I didn't want to. I didn't want to move to the US. I am under no delusion that the United States is the best country on the planet. Canada is and will be my home forever. I might go somewhere for, a few months or maybe even up to a year. More about that in another video maybe, but Canada is always going to be my home. There's not another country on this earth that is, to me, better than Canada. Certainly not the United States. When I lived in the United States, my income tax rate in North Carolina was about 0.1% less than it was when in Ontario. And I had nothing. I had no government services for me to show for that. They don't have universal health care. I wasn't eligible for Medicare or Medicaid or whatever it is. Because I was an immigrant. I wasn't eligible for any of that. So there was no health care. I couldn't afford insurance, but then I finally got a job that had insurance offered as a benefit. And even with the payment that my company made, I was paying $400 a month. And this is like in the early 2000s. I was paying $400 a month just for me and my husband. That's not for an entire family. That's just for two people. And I was making less than $11 an hour. And I had to pay $400 a month for my health insurance premium. And then on top of that, whenever I went to visit a doctor, there's still co-pays. So depending on the type of doctor that you go to or the type of diagnostics you go to, that copay is going to be different. So when I went to my primary care office, and I never actually saw a physician, I would see a nurse practitioner, which is fine. Nurse practitioners are incredibly talented and knowledgeable people. My point is, you still have to pay. Even though you're going to a physician's office, you may never see a physician, and you still have to pay anywhere from $10 to $25 for that visit. And mind you, I left the United States in 2010, so I'm sure these prices have gone up. When I went to see a specialist, I had to see a specialist for Graves' disease. I had to see a specialist for celiac disease. These specialists were not covered by my insurance policy. Guess which company I was with? The CEO was recently shot to death by a disgruntled insurance holder. So because these doctors that were the only ones in the area that I could have gone to for these particular diseases that I have, I had to pay fully out of pocket for their services. And depending on what I was having done that day would range anywhere from minimum of $90 to, like 100 and something. So even though I had insurance, I was still paying out of pocket for every single doctor visit, every single diagnostic that I had to have. I think breast scanning, mammograms, I think they were free. That was the only thing that my insurance covered for free. Everything else I still had to pay for. So no, I was under no delusion or illusion or whatever that the United States is a better country than Canada. Now, I know it's absolutely horrifying to be in the United States. I will not visit there, maybe ever again. I don't know, because when Trump dies, which may be next week, which may be after his 4-year term is over, we don't know, because his doctors and he are not being truthful about his health conditions, of which we can see are many. So if Trump dies while he's in office, then we get Shady Vance. And oh yeah, he's such a good guy. It's not going to get any better under J.D. Vance. Then I saw a video the other day a woman who was trying to explain how we could possibly get rid of all these people. And unfortunately, we have to wait until the midterms, which is November this year, I believe. And how much longer can the American people stand this? Can the American people stand this until November and the midterms? How many more people are going to die? How many more people are going to be maimed by ICE and the goons until the midterms? So this woman's premise was, in order to get rid of the entire administration, like the upper, I guess they call it the executive, all of his cabinet members. So we have to, or they have to, at the midterm elections, they have to flip the House to be majority Democrat, which looks like is a possibility it could happen now, because the Republicans, their approval rating is going down, because, you know, as more and more white people get killed, their approval rating is going down. And then they pissed off the gun lobbyists and NRA. So yeah, there's that. So flip the House to be majority Democrat, then impeach J.D. Vance and remove J.D. Vance, and then impeach and remove Trump. And then apparently, according to U.S. Constitution, if the vice president and the president are both gone, then the Speaker of the House is acting president. Well, if they flip the House to be Democrat, then the Speaker of the House would be a Democrat. So then we would have a Democrat as the acting president. So, but then can we wait until the end of the year? That's the thing. I have no suggestions about what to do between now and then. I have none, because I'm not American. I'm sitting here watching it from Canada, and I mean, the rhetoric out of Trump is like he's off of Greenland, but now he's back on Canada. So at, 10 minutes before he went to speak to Mark Rutte, he was saying that he was, willing to go into Greenland with military force. So now he's off of Greenland and he's back on Canada. Is he willing to come into Canada with military force? We've recently had a Canadian military spokesperson say, we could fight them off for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks at most, but they would end up annihilating us. One, because the population of Canada, like never mind just our military, the population of Canada is about 40 million, 41 million, somewhere around there. The population of the United States, 400 something million. So their military is proportionately that much larger than ours. And I think recruitment now for the Canadian military has gone up by about 13% year over year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's been going down year over year. But now, because of the threats from the United States, it's gone up, and because they've loosened some of the application process. Like, it was just ridiculously difficult and took a long time just to apply to join the Canadian Armed Forces for some reason. So now they've shortened that process. They still have the vetting and, all that stuff, but it's just made it quicker to get through. Like, it shouldn't take a year to apply for a job with the Canadian Armed Forces. So recruitment is up, but it's still, even if you take the 600,000 active members of the Canadian Armed Forces, a lot of whom are overseas right now, doing various things with NATO, we can't stretch 600,000 active forces, even if they all come home. That doesn't cover our border. Even if they're like standing like this, that doesn't cover our border. So we'll fight. God damn it, we will fight. And we have fought off the United States a couple of times. And every time they try and invade Canada, we fight them off. One time we even burned the White House down. Okay, granted, we weren't Canada yet, so it was British and French forces that, actually lit the match and set it aflame. But those people who did that, their descendants are Canadian. No doubt about it. So we would be happy. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. But we could do it again. Canadians will staunchly defend our home. There's no doubt about that. Sure, we have a few people, a small minority of Canadians who we call Maple MAGA, and they support Trump for whatever delusional ideas they have, because they're delusional and they're uninformed and they drank the Kool-Aid. If they want to join the US, fine. Apply for US visa of some sort. Go to the US. Go and live in the US. Don't keep that poison here in Canada. We don't need it. We have enough difficulty with stuff going on up here, with cost of living and housing, and cost of groceries just keep going up. We have enough to deal with all of that, just regular everyday stuff. We don't need to add the hate and the bigotry and the stupidity, like the honest to God stupidity. I don't get it. I just don't get it at all. I don't get what's going on. It makes no sense to me whatsoever, other than bullies who feel like they can bully just because they're bullies. And because they have the backing of a rich bastard in the Oval Office who, okay, he's probably not a bastard, but you know what I mean. It's just, it has become fully disgusting and gross and horrifying, and I can't imagine what the people of the United States are feeling if we are feeling the horror here in Canada. I don't get it. I don't.